Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It is the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyofcruising.net. It helps support the channel through our partnership with Where's Walters Travel. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul, and I'm delighted to welcome this week on the Joy of Cruising podcast a special guest straight from somewhere in the world. Brandee Lake, the creator of TikTok's 179,000 followers I Am Brandee Lake and same-named Instagram. Brandee's profile at IG says simply, Asia finishing, Africa loading. On December 10th, 2023, Brandee embarked in Miami on Royal Caribbean's Ultimate World Cruise on Serenade of the Seas, and is scheduled to disembark in Miami on September 10th, 2024. In mid-2023, Brandee had announced she was stepping away from corporate America for a 9-month world cruise with her parents and younger sister, and urged friends to follow along with their journey on social media. Within days, the Ultimate World Cruise became a social media sensation, and for several passengers, it became a social media obsession. The best known of those passengers is Brandee Lake. The Ultimate World Cruise is scheduled for 274 days and is divided into 4 segments. Ultimate America's Cruise, 64 nights from December 10th to February 11, 2024, 36 destinations, including Cozumel, Mexico, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and Los Angeles, California. Ultimate Asia Pacific Cruise, 87 nights from February 11th to May 9th, 2024, 40 destinations, Hawaii, Manila, Philippines, and Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, and 3 wonders of the world, including the Great Barrier Reef and the Taj Mahal. The third segment is the Ultimate Africa and Southern Europe, 63 nights from May 9th, 24 to July 10th, 24. 38 destinations from Dubai to Barcelona, Seychelles, Cape Town, South Africa, Dakar, and Nice. And then the final segment is the Ultimate Europe and Beyond Cruise, 63 nights from July 10th to September 10th, 2024. Welcome, Brandee, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you.
So how you doing?
I am good. I cannot complain. I've been living at sea for, almost 6 months now, and life is good.
Yeah, I envy you. I would love to do something like that, but my wife wouldn't last more than a couple of weeks. We just got off our first transatlantic, and it started with 9 or 8 sea days, and by the time we got to that first port stop, she was like, "I need land. I need land." what?
I'm gonna be honest, though. I'm gonna be honest. I think 7 days is the maximum that we've ever spent at one stretch, and and that hasn't even been maybe but one time. So. It's not as bad
I was
as you
just
think.
getting ready to ask you. I would have guessed that you would have some periods of longer sea days, but that's pretty good. Only seven.
Oh, not
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much.
So how's your family faring on Serenade? By the way, tell us about who is with you on Serenade.
Yeah, so I'm traveling with my parents and my sister. So it's our family of 4. And everyone's faring well. I think we're all getting very used to this cruise lifestyle. My longest cruise before this had only been 12 days. So my mom and sister had done some transatlantic, so they were a little bit more familiar. I don't think my dad had been much more than a 7-day before. But everyone's doing all right. It's definitely different living in the room with your sister as adults. And you haven't done that in a long time. But yeah, we still love each other and we're still getting along. So happy for that.
You still love each other.
Yeah.
Just to be clear,
Yeah,
we still love each other.
Exactly. Just squashing any ideas out there. We still love each other.
What's your sister's name? I know that you sent me a couple of photos and it looked like it's probably your sister.
Yeah. Her name is Shannon.
Shannon, okay.
Yes.
Okay. And she's your younger sister, if I'm correct, right?
That's correct. Yes. We're about a little over 4 years apart.
So, before we discuss I Am Brandee Lake, tell our listeners about yourself in general. Where you're from, where you live, professional background. You've already said a little something about your family. You know, you could add anything you want. Anything you would like to share with our listeners.
Sure. Yes. So I'm originally from East Lansing, Michigan. Go Green. I like the Spartans. I hope I didn't offend anybody already.
That's Magic. That's Magic Johnson territory, right?
Sure is. It definitely is.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, my all-time favorite player.
Oh, we'll see. I love to hear it. Well, then I will say that most recently, before moving to the Serenade of the Seas, because I gave up everything to live on the ship, I lived in Los Angeles, which obviously also has Magic Johnson ties because the Lakers are there.
Of course.
Yeah. Although I'm a Clippers fan. That's a random fact I like people to know.
Oh, no.
I know, right? I'm probably making all kind of enemies here already in the beginning of this podcast. I have a degree in interior design, actually, but I was most recently in advertising and marketing before coming on the cruise.
Okay. So let's talk about cruising. When and on what ship was your very first cruise?
So my first cruise, I can tell you when. The ship, I honestly can't remember because it was too long ago. My high school spring break was on a Carnival cruise. So I remember that we went on a Carnival cruise. I remember we went to Cozumel and Grand Cayman. I can tell you all those things about it, but I have no idea what the ship name was. Not a clue.
Well, how'd you enjoy it?
But we had a blast. My mom would not allow us to go on the big school trip with all the other people because she thought it would be too rowdy. So it was myself and 3 of my closest friends. And then my mom and my aunt were the chaperones. So she got a vacation out of it as well. And we had a blast. I mean, you know, we were old enough to go into the little nightclub at the time. And we just stay up all night and laugh and giggle. I remember that we did the guest talent show, me and one of my other friends. Yeah, it was a good time. Lots of memories.
So what was your talent?
We did a lip sync to Shanice, I Love Your Smile. I remember that. We had a whole little dance routine.
There you go. There you go. Did you win? Was it a contest?
I don't think it was a contest. I think it was just like just a show. Well, or if it was a contest, we did not win.
So
again, we're talking a long time ago, Paul. We're talking years ago without giving away my
Oh, come on. No, I'm just kidding. So what were it sounds like your initial impressions of cruising was positive.
Yeah, like I said, I hadn't done it too much, about 4 or 5 before the Ultimate World Cruise, but it was always positive. Yeah. Feel like before this, a lot of them were for occasions. Like I talked about the one that was my senior spring break. Then my cousin got married on one. And then I remember we did the Tom Joyner morning cruise one year as a family. That was another family cruise. And then I took one on my own. And then this. Yeah.
Wow, Tom Joyner cruise with your family. I know that must have been a highlight. I have this thing about theme cruises because, you know, everybody there, before the cruise ever starts, everyone there has something in common.
Exactly. It's already something that's connecting you. Yeah.
Right. So there's that extra connectivity from day one, and then I love R&B music, and
that is a party. That is a party.
I can imagine. Yeah. As much as I love theme cruising, I have not been on a Tom Joyner one. I have been on music, or I went just a few months ago. I went on a Maxwell R&B cruise.
Ooh, I didn't even know he was hosting them. I need to look more into theme cruises. I kind of stumbled upon that one because my parents used to do it, but I need to look more into the theme cruises.
Well, when you get a chance, I know we're talking about you, but let me point you to an episode. Check out an episode called. Have you ever heard of Festival at Sea?
Yes. Now, my friends did that every year. They always begged me to go, and I just never made it. It was never like the right timing or something because you have to book that one like literally that same year you're on it. And I'm like, I can't think that far in advance.
Yeah, yeah. It opens. First of all, much of it is booked when before the cruise ends because
Yeah, that's what I'm
there's an
saying.
opportunity
Yeah.
to buy tickets on board, and then when they do open to the public, at least last year, it sold out in an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a theme cruise that you know about it, so you want to put that on your bucket list. But then they also have an affiliate called Friends of Festival at Sea.
Oh,
And what Friends does is like really really high end cruises. So they don't get usually they don't get a whole ship. They get a section of or a segment of a very very high end cruise, and they do like cruises to Africa and. They're going to Asia in 25. And my next cruise, I had Friends of Festival at Sea on my bucket list
okay.
because they're very expensive. But my next cruise is actually my first river cruise, and that is a Friends of Festival at Sea cruise. So
Nice. Is that Viking then?
no, it's Emma Waterways. Yeah. So
Okay.
so
Now, is your wife gonna go on
oh
that
yeah,
one?
yeah, yeah. River cruising is her
Okay.
speed. It's a nice.
Okay.
It's nice.
Okay.
It's a 7 day river cruise. Well, I say river cruising is her speed. We've never been on a river cruise, but it's very different than ocean cruising. So, uh,
Yeah,
so
for sure.
7 days on the river in France, and then we take a high speed train to Paris for a Black History tour.
Hmm. Oh, nice. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have some. My family did the Black History tour in Paris. I was working, I believe, but they got to enjoy it. Yeah.
Oh wow. I'd like to talk to your parents. um,
Well, actually, it would be my cousin and my sister and mom. My dad wasn't there on that one. Yeah.
you did several cruises after the your first cruise leading up to the Ultimate World Cruise. So you weren't what one would call a cruising fanatic.
I definitely would not say that, especially after being on this cruise. I think I would insult those people if I said that. I was an I was an occasional cruiser, but a travel fanatic.
So as you approached the World Cruise, since you had only been on, I think you said 5 cruises and none anywhere near this distance or this length, were you anxious at all?
No, not at all. I mean, I was going to be with my family, so
Uh
that
huh.
was all I needed. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, didn't have any. I knew everything would work out.
So talk about how the Ultimate World Cruise became a thing for your family.
Oh, for my family. Well, I have to give it all to my mother. My mother found it somewhere. I honestly don't even know how she saw it. Maybe searching the internet, what have you. But it was during the pandemic because we had Sunday dinner, as I'll call it, and that means it was virtual. It was on Zoom. We like talk every Sunday, and she mentioned that she and my dad were going on a world cruise, and I was like, "Where do you think you're going without me?" My sister said, "Well, wait, you think she's gonna go, or she's trying to go with you, and I'm not going?" And our parents laughed at us and said, "You have jobs and responsibilities. Y'all enjoy yourselves here at home. We're out." And we were like, "Well, how far away is it? Like how much is it? Can we try and make a plan?" Once we found out it was 2 years away, and they told us when it was or whatever. And my sister and I definitely were thinking about it, trying to figure out what we could figure out. And then a few weeks later, they came back to us and asked us if we were serious about wanting to go on the cruise. And I was like, "Did you birth me? Like, I'm always up for a trip. Like, what are we doing?" And they said, "Well, would you all like your inheritance now or when we pass away?" And my sister and I both were like, money is money, but like the memories that we'll have together, that's priceless. So here we are. My mom likes to call it our living
I,
inheritance.
I, I like that. I'm going to try that on my daughters. occasionally we cruise a lot. I'll post things occasionally and says something like spending my daughter's inheritance, and they don't like that at all. But
Yeah. Well, in this case, they were spending it on us, so we were the benefactor.
yeah, they know I have kind of a warped sense of humor, and so they don't like that. But the thought that the idea that your parents have given me is that, you know, I do occasionally take them on cruises. We went on a Christmas cruise, my daughters and my granddaughters and my son-in-law. Sometime down the road, I'll take them on a really nice cruise, and I'll say,
Yeah.
hey, y'all want to go with us? And I know they will when I explain what this really nice cruise is, and then I'll tease them and say, okay, well, we'll spend some of your inheritance down. So I like that. So so
Yeah.
so how soon after your parents broached the idea of the Ultimate World Cruise, how soon did you and I'm sorry, it's Shannon, right?
Oh, Shannon. Yeah.
How soon did you and Shannon did y'all like as soon as the discussion was over, did y'all like chat among yourselves? Did you get real serious right away, or did you kind of think, not really gonna happen?
Oh, no. Once they asked us if we wanted to do it as for our inheritance, and we said, absolutely. It was all serious. It was all, okay, let's go.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So you had
No
a
hesitation.
a good planning horizon. What are the kind of things that you did? I'm sure you did a lot of research of destinations.
Funny you say that. No, I did not. Um,
Really?
yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. I've been very blessed to travel throughout my life. And honestly, I had been to a lot of the places to the point where my parents were like, well, do you really need to go on all four segments or can you pick and choose? And the thing is there was one or two destinations in every segment that I hadn't been to. So I was like, well, no, I want to just do the whole thing. Besides the fact that the cost to probably fly back and forth would have been more than just staying on the ship, to some extent. So a lot of the places I knew something about. And then I was working literally all the way up until the Friday before the Sunday we left.
Wow,
So I
wow.
didn't really have time to compute or think about these things. A lot of the other retired people in the Facebook group had all their things planned, had a spreadsheet with all their activities and excursions. That was not me. And I'm the planner for the family, so nobody else had done it either. In my head, I was going to plan, like, once we got on for the Americas, I was going to plan for like Asia and just be one segment ahead. That didn't happen. We're on a port by port basis, and I'm fine with that because
Uh-huh.
sometimes the ports happen, sometimes they don't. And sometimes our level of tiredness after going for a few days is different than what if we would have planned it a year ago, I don't even think it would be relevant, to be perfectly honest.
You indicated that you had traveled a lot and to many of the locations or the destinations, but you only cruised a few times. So it sounds like you just did a lot of land travel. Was that as part of your profession, or are you just a traveler?
I'm just a traveler. I mean, I was blessed to have one of the jobs be where I traveled some, but I'm just a traveler. And if I had a work trip, I was going to find a way to tack on something for myself outside of that location that was nearby for personal. I had traveled to 77 countries before I stepped foot on this cruise.
And that was just as an adventure, a tourist. I mean, you
Yeah.
just said it wasn't really connected with the work.
No, it was not connected with work. I will say that I was based in the Middle East, living for 5 years, and that gives you a good springboard to travel from and get to
Oh,
parts
wow.
of the
Oh,
world.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, your corporate work or your professional work, has it been largely for a company, or are you a free agent, sort of a independent consultant?
It's been various companies. It hasn't been consultancy, but I've had several different careers. I've had an interesting work, I guess, path, but no, it's been companies. I have I have not been self-employed full time until this point, but I anticipate that will be the only way I can go after this cruise. I'm not interested in being in another corporate gig after this.
Well, congrats. I know how you feel about that. I worked in corporate, most of my life, but I didn't feel I really had arrived, not financially, by the way, but just had arrived in terms of self fulfillment until I struck out on my own as an entrepreneur. So,
Yeah.
getting back to the Ultimate World Cruise, let's start at boarding day. I'm sure many of my listeners have not experienced Serenade, so let's start. Let's start with that. Talk a little bit about the ship.
Well, one thing about boarding day that was super nice is that they included an overnight hotel the night before we boarded the ship as a part of the package, and they had taken all of our luggage already the night before. So it was super nice to not really have to bring anything except for your carry-on board. And when you got to your room, our bags were already in here, like not even just outside the door. They were already in our cabin. So that was really nice. What I
So Royal put you up in a hotel, or was it a tour group?
No, Royal.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah, if you had purchased the complete Ultimate World Cruise package as one package, you got round trip first class airfare as well as the hotel because there was a pre-cruise gala the night before. So you got the pre-cruise gala and then the hotel overnight. Yeah.
At the pre-cruise gala, did you meet many of your who were going to be your neighbors for the next 9 months?
We did. Well, we definitely met them. Do I say many? I don't know. It was so big, right? It was so many people. There's about just under 700 of us who are doing the complete 9 months as a whole pack.
Okay.
But one of our good friends happened to be sitting with us at the table. I mean, we met her that day, and she would end up becoming one of our good friends at the table with us at the pre-cruise gala because those tables were just like randomly assigned, but you did have assigned tables. So we were not even with our parents actually at that table. My sister and I were at a
Okay.
separate table. Um, and yeah, I mean, it was kind of a whirlwind. Like the gala was so nice. I guess that's probably how it should start besides boarding day. They had little vignettes of like the different areas of the world we would go to for picture opportunities and um, some live music from different types of bands around the world. Yeah, it was really cool. It's really good. So yeah, boarding day, we got on the ship, and like I said, our bags were already in the room. Now, although I didn't research the port so much, I did research some of the things that one might have in a room, especially for this long. So we had stocked up on a lot of like organizational items for the room, and everyone said hangers were necessary. So we definitely brought hangers and some of those type of things with us.
So take us through. Just give us a brief overview of the ship.
Oh, of the ship. Well, I feel like even the ship that I went on back in high school, which I don't know, but it probably was one of the biggest ones at the time. This ship is a smaller class of ship, probably than I think I've ever been on. So it has the main dining room, it has the Windjammer, and I think about 6 specialty restaurants. But there's no like indoor outdoor area or like what they have Central Park and some of the other ones, and there's no like ice rink or anything like that. We do have a theater. And we have a cinema as well, like where you can watch movies. The casino. The casino's only one level. We have the coffee shop, but the coffee shop's kind of right near the Centrum. So the Centrum is kind of the main hub of everything, which would be probably Central Park on some of the other bigger ships. Um, we have all the main things you need. We have the gym, we have the spa. I don't think of anything else. Oh, but they do have the solarium, so that is supposed to be the adult only area with the indoor pool. We have just one pool. Well, I mean, the indoor pool and outdoor pool, so two, but not like several stations where there's pools. Oh, you know what? I take that back. There's the kiddie pool, but obviously I can't go there, so I don't see that often. We have putt golf.
Now, let me jump in. You just said something. Kiddie pool.
Yeah,
The, any kids on the trip?
there are definitely kids on the ship. There's probably a good core 20 to 30 families like that are here for the full 9 months with children.
Wow.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. I mean,
Yeah.
how can that be? I mean, they I guess homeschooled.
Uh, I, yeah, they mostly seem homeschooled. But there's so many especially after COVID, there's so many online curriculums these days, like even through the public schools, maybe from back home. And the parents just have to kind of
Okay.
monitor. And then some of them have kids that are little, so they're not even really quite in kindergarten yet. You know what I mean? So
Oh, okay.
it's a range of ages for the kids.
Yeah,
I
it would
mean,
seem to me that.
I was a former teacher, and I'm not gonna lie. If I had the opportunity to take my kids around the world, that's more education than they'll ever receive in school, even though I was a teacher. So even if my kids took a year off, I think I would do it.
Yep, yep. So let's talk about the amenities of the ship. So you said they had 6 specialty restaurants. That's a surprise for that size ship.
Okay, wait, maybe I'm wrong. Let me count that out loud because maybe I overestimated. We have Chops, we have Izumi, we have Giovanni. Oh, and we have Chef's Table. So maybe there's only four. Maybe there's only four. Yeah, I overestimated on that one.
Your family been pretty happy with the food and accommodations?
According to the scale, maybe too happy.
Well, you
I'm
said,
speaking personally.
I mean,
I can't speak for them, but I'm saying personally.
you said they have a fitness center, so I'm sure you're in there every day.
Ha ha. I was not in there every day on land. Although I said to myself when I got on, oh, well, what else do I have to do? But, obviously I have a lot of other things to do. There's a lot of onboard activities, especially on sea days, because we don't have as many as you would think. Like they seem to pack in all the activities on sea days. I do take the stairs though. I try and take the stairs at least 3 times a day from at least 3 or 4, all the way up to 11. So that I at least force myself to get a little bit of exercise.
Yeah, we're the same way. Although we plan like we're going to exercise, it just doesn't happen.
Oh yeah, like in my head every day on the little cruise compass, I punch the exercise classes. Now, what happens if I make it or not? That's two different things.
I'm still like kind of fascinated. I'm still thinking about the kids.
I can tell you were thinking about those kids.
Yeah, that's just surprising because I went on a cruise. We went on a cruise. It was almost a trans-Pacific. It was a great cruise. It was from Hawaii to Alaska,
Okay.
and it was 16 days. There were only 5 kids on there, and I was surprised at even hearing there was 5 because there was absolutely nothing for kids to do. This
Oh
ship
no,
had
see.
been redone, and all of the kids' stuff was pulled out, so they didn't even have a kids club.
Oh, I was gonna say, see, that's different. On this ship, the kids club is popping. Um, my
Really?
friends, my friends' kids get upset when they have to go out on excursion. They're like, "We'd rather stay in kids club, mom." I'm like, seriously, all these experiences, I don't need to sightsee. I want to go to kids club. So yeah, no, the kids have their own community at this point. I mean, it's a built-in community for them as well. They've been living together for 6 months.
So it sounds passengers were pretty content with the ship, the accommodations. It sounds like there was a lot to do on sea days. Did they have any the outdoor, slides and any of that stuff?
No, only the water slide in the kids area. That's what I was saying. Our ship is not big like that. Rock climbing and mini golf, those are our big outdoor activities.
Now, how soon did the after you left Miami, the ship kind of took on a life of its own in the social media reality world? I mean, I didn't even know about the cruise. I didn't even know it was happening until
What's your cruise line of choice, by the way?
I'm one of those people that jump around. So I've been on a lot of lines. I've been on Royal, a number of times, so I can kind of picture things as you say about the ship.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
just literally, been home about 2 weeks maybe. I just got off a Virgin, and that was my that
Oh,
was
I can't wait to try that. Was it
that
amazing?
yeah, that was my first time on Virgin, and when I got off, I said that's my new favorite cruise line.
Yeah, I can't wait to try.
If I had to answer your question, I would have said Virgin based on one cruise. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I'm booked on cruises, pretty much booked solid through to 25. So 26 is wide open, and I'm pretty confident my first cruise in 26 will be on a Virgin ship. Um,
Okay.
so I did a podcast on it, and I described it as a playground for adults.
Yes. The adults only part really intrigues me, and the fact
Yeah,
and like the fine dining. So
yeah, yep, yep. And I focused a lot on dining. When I did my podcast. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, talk about that, about the fact that shortly after, maybe before, because you were on a Facebook cruise group. Maybe there was already discussion of this, but the Ultimate World Cruise sort of developed a life of its own outside of the Ultimate World Cruise.
Yeah, that is true. So yeah, the Facebook group was only internal for the people who are traveling on the full world cruise, and that was more about planning and logistics. So no, that did not have like a life of its own on social media. I think that it was just honestly timing because we set sail in December, and December 10th to be exact, and it was heading into the holiday season. So for most of us, your friends and family are like, "Oh my gosh, that's such a cool thing," and they wanted to see your pictures and see what's going on. Well, there was no way that any of us wanted to send individual pictures or things to anybody back home. So those of us who were documenting were really documenting mostly for family and friends, right? But obviously on a public platform. And I think everyone was just stuck at home for Christmas. They had nothing to do, if I'm perfectly honest. And somehow, like a couple of posts hit big and hit an uptick, and off it went. Like it was just honestly was wild. I'm sorry. The news called me. Like the Today Show asked me to be on the Today Show for an interview. What is happening right now? Like what is happening?
Wow. So did you do it?
I did do it. I did it. It was like I said. It's just I think I've been in most of the major news outlets or publications that we have, at least in the US, if not the world at this point. And that's just crazy that in like a 6 month span, things completely just kind of flipped or changed.
Well, when began to become a traditional media sensation as well as a social media sensation, that's when it caught my eye, and so then I said to myself, wow, it sure would be nice to have, I started seeing some names being mentioned, obviously including yours. And I said, wouldn't it be nice to, to represent this on the podcast? And so I started, doing some Googling and all of that. And your name or your face came up kind of more than everybody else's. And so how did you kind of become one of the leading I don't even know what the right word is, influencer, content creator, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Well, I think just you never know. I think what social media is going to pick up or not pick up. And so I guess some of the people that you would call quote unquote the leading or the most visible, we'll call it most visible creators on the cruise, we kind of got together and did like a couple of videos together in the very beginning. And so I think that helped kind of the
Okay.
few of us who were already kind of taking off go. My first video to go viral was about, unfortunately, being mistaken as a crew member or assumed as a crew member. And it was I never expected that to go viral at all. It just was kind of one of those days that I was just like so excited about the trip, and kind of early on, it was a little bit frustrating, a little bit disheartening, early on. And then that's what,
Yeah. I'm
no,
sorry.
go ahead. I was gonna say
I'm
that's
sorry.
what took off.
I was going to say, I heard about that, and that wasn't necessarily in a positive light.
Right.
So tell the listeners that story.
Um, you know, I'm just gonna say that there's a lot of biases in the cruise industry still in general, because I would love to say it was the first time, but it was not. And also my other fellow friends and cruise passengers of color, not necessarily Black, but of color, and I'd say younger people. There's just a lot of assumptions about what a quote unquote cruiser looks like, and a lot of assumptions that need to be broken and should be shattered by this cruise. Um, so yeah, it was frustrating, but I am beyond blessed to be on this journey, and I wasn't going to let that shadow my entire cruise experience. It just was, like I said, one day and one moment in time when I was a little frustrated, and I'd make sure that I didn't stay in that space. And I'm more excited to share all of the wonders of the world, and like all, not literally the wonders as the locations, but just the wonderfulness of the world and the beauty of the world and the different cultures than just that experience. But yes, it does happen, and it happens again, like I said, to people of color and young people often in the cruise world.
How well said. So that video went viral. Now let me ask you this. I was reading a general article, I think, about some of the social media, for lack of a better word, leaders like yourself, and a couple of them had like barely triple digits followers on TikTok when they started, chronicling the cruise, and now they have over 100,000 followers. Were you active on TikTok before the cruise?
Absolutely not. I mean, I had a TikTok page, but I had about maybe 5 posts, if that. And honestly, not a couple of them. Like most of us barely had triple digit followers. I think there might have only been one, maybe two that had more than that. So for all of us, it was just like a whirlwind. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, I don't even know if I had any followers. I had a few posts, but I don't know if I had any followers. Maybe, I mean, other than maybe my family, right? My cousin, my sister.
So did you have to sort of self-learn TikTok, or I mean, did it come to you pretty naturally? I asked this question with interest because I literally just got a TikTok account, mainly as a result of researching you. I don't know what I'm doing, so
So Paul, I have bad news for you. I'm probably the oldest of the bunch, so I am definitely slower to the uptake. It was definitely a learning curve, I would say, and still a learning curve. Instagram is probably actually my platform of like preference and comfortability, but I've had to throw myself into TikTok. But it is nice that we have the group of us here, because some of the younger ones or just some of the other people, as we discover something one way or the other, we're in a vacuum to be able to share. So that's kind of cool.
do you feel as one of the leading sources of information about the Ultimate World Cruise? Do you feel any pressure to post?
You know what? I think there was a phase in there in the beginning where I felt the pressure to post, but my sister says this to me all the time, and another friend who's quite successful in the social media industry here, who's here on the ship, to just be myself. And you know what? I've decided to lean into that, meaning that like if it's a day that I don't want to post, I'm just not going to post. TikTok especially is a weird place. No matter what I post and no matter how many likes I get, my followers are like dwindling fast, which is weird to me because I don't ever actively just go and unfollow somebody unless they've done something like egregious and like I don't want to be associated. So for it to just drop off like that, I find something very strange in their algorithm. Also, my likes have like not changed in 2 months, and that's pretty much impossible. If you look at how many likes have happened like per video since then. So I had to learn to not get caught up in the algorithm and what's going on, and just again be true to myself. I really focus on presenting lighthearted content, but also factual content. Like if something is like on my heart, I'm going to say it. but I try to lean in the positive light and want to keep it that way. But again, there's things about traveling, especially as a Black person, that happen, or as a solo woman that happen. And I want to be real about that. Everything is not roses every day, but I'm not going to get stuck in a complaining cycle. I don't want that to be my name or my legacy.
Now, you alluded to this earlier. You've made a number of media appearances or media interactions. So, name those for us again. You said the Today Show, right?
Yeah, Today Show, USA Today, People, CNN, regular BBC, BBC Africa, NBC, New York Times, Time Magazine,
Wow.
Washington Post. Um, I think I'm probably forgetting some. And honestly, at this point, which is so wild to say, and I'm so humbled, like I've kind of lost track. We had a spreadsheet going for a while, and we kind of stopped doing it. I need to go back to it just to visit it because it's like seriously a blessing. But yeah, there's been several.
So, do you know all of the others on board who are chronicling the trip, and have they similarly made a lot of those national or international media appearances?
I'll say this. I don't know everybody chronicling because almost everybody on here is chronicling, honestly, even if they haven't made it to social media attention. Yeah, on some way, shape, or form. Because again, everyone's family and friends want to know, right? It might be, I'll say for the boomer category, they're mostly on Facebook. So you know what I mean? They're chronicling just on Facebook. They didn't get picked up a social media frenzy, you know what I
Right.
mean? But literally almost everybody is chronicling on some level. So I just want to put that out there. I mean, because who wouldn't? And whenever somebody travels, they post some things for their family to see, family and friends to see. But for your question in particular, out of the people who were featured most, yes, I know all of them. We'll say that. There might be other places or features of people I don't know, but out of that group, yeah, like we are a friend group. I think people they don't realize that we actually are friends. I don't know. They just look at us as individuals sometimes. And
Yeah, yeah.
because most of us are kind of in the same age range, right? So we would have naturally, and we did naturally gravitate towards each other. Anyhow, it probably just was a little bit happened in a hyper speed way because of the social media. And everyone is here on a trip with their family or loved one or however it goes. Like there's only one person in the group who's technically a solo traveler, and I'll put it in air quotes that nobody can see, but I say that because she's a solo traveler because she has her own room, but her brother and her sister-in-law and her niece and nephew are also on the cruise. You know what I mean? So everyone was here for different reasons, and most of them had a lot of meaningful reasons that they were on the cruise. So, like I said, we were all here for a vacation on our own. The social media just happened. So we more cheer each other on than anything else. And everybody has their own lane or own niche. Everyone kind of has a different approach. So I think that some people follow everybody. Some people follow the ones that resonate with them. And that's fine. We look for times to be able to hang out together at this point, just because everyone's schedule actually ends up being busy. Everyone does different excursions and stuff. So now it's actually more of a like a Jenga to find a time when we can all actually get together because we want to.
Well, it's good to hear. There's doesn't sound like there's any pettiness going on. So that's good. Do most of the passengers beyond this small group of creators, do most of the passengers know what you do and who you are? Because as I said, you're very conspicuous to people who follow the cruise from off the cruise. But on the cruise, are you known like, oh, I am Brandee Lake?
It's funny because I feel like it's one way or the other. Like people either know who you are or they don't. And actually, a lot of times I like it when they don't, because then they just come up to me like a normal person and just, you know what I mean? And just say hi.
Just interact. Mm-hmm.
Just interact. But at this point, it's not even like that anymore. Again, we've been living together for 6 months now. So it's less like that period now, unless there are new people who get on the ship. So there are also people who can
Oh, yeah.
ship with like the individual sailings. And that's usually when it might happen more now. After that, the rest of us are all like, we're all a community. So it is what it is. There's a lot of jokes there are a lot of jokes and comments in the beginning about the TikTokers and the TikTokers being in the way. Let me just tell you that we're never in the way. That's never the issue. Like we try to be out of the way. It's usually actually the boomers who usually tend to do more of the stuff than we do. So we were like, hey, quit giving us a bad rap. Like,
Hey, be careful with what you say about the boomers.
Hey, I'm not saying anything bad about them. I'm just saying they're blaming us and it might be them.
All right.
Like I'm probably going to have some boomer enemies now, but my parents are boomers.
Yeah, I forgot about that. People come on at different segments of the trip. So I suspect, like if I got on at a certain segment, I mean, I did extra research on you because you're going to be on a podcast, but just as a casual, if I got on, I would know who you are just because I've done, just because I would, do research about the trip. So I suspect when new people get on, do you get approached a little more often? Like, oh, I know you.
That does happen. And it's much better when they're just like, hey, are you Brandee? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, I follow you on social media. And I'm like, thank you. It's much better. I'd rather people to approach me than like the ones that you see looking and like trying to figure out. And it's like, kind of like, just don't be weird. Just say something, you know what I mean? Just don't be weird.
So I understand you have a podcast.
I do.
Before the cruise. So say something about that.
You want to know about TikTok? I probably want to know about the podcast world. My sister and I started a podcast called Brandee Files before the cruise, kind of leading up to it. And if I'm going to be honest, Paul, we've been on a hiatus since we started the cruise. We thought we would like pick right back up, like kind of once we got settled. And like the schedule has just been like boom, 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 boom. And I think that the production of it is kind of what's like halted us, like doing a lot of the editing. But I feel like with you, we're just having a nice, pretty casual, straight up conversation. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of edits that you have to do. So you're making me rethink like even how we approach it and what we do.
Oh, believe me, I will be editing like crazy, taking out my uhs and ums.
Fair. Okay. But yeah, I think so we have a podcast. We only had one season and we're kind of we're in like the revamping phase right now to figure out what we're going to do for season 2.
Now, did that one season focus on the upcoming Ultimate World Cruise?
It did not. It focused on travel in general. So it was about travel in general. And then we announced on our last episode that we would be going on the cruise.
So when you started it, did you start it because of the upcoming World Cruise?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't know what my job situation was going to be or not going to be. So we couldn't just lead with the fact that the cruise is coming up. My sister works for herself, so it wasn't a big deal for her. But for me, it was a little different.
Well, best wishes with that. I will have to check out some episodes. Thank you. But in your next season, I think you're going to have you're going to have so much to talk about.
So much. And I mean, like, first of all, we're on our third quarter of the 4-quarter parts. So like, I mean, like just Africa alone already, like so much to talk about. And then we haven't even talked about the Americas or Asia. So yeah, I think it'll be like probably revisiting some of the cities, ports, things like that.
Oh, I have another podcast episode for you. I know it probably sounds like I'm pimping my podcast, but you keep bringing up things that I think you would be interested in. So I know that you're
I'm here for it because I'm just like interested in hearing the podcast anyway. So
you're dealing with Africa right now. So it wasn't my latest show. I guess it's came out last week sometime. I have a woman on she and her husband did a 73-day Africa cruise. And
yes, I need to listen. I need to listen expeditiously before we finish Africa.
Yeah. And so, I've always, I have Africa at the very top of my bucket list, But I was torn because, I want to do a land vacation so I can go to, the solemn cultural sites, involving slavery and all that. And also, I want to go on a safari. But then, I love cruising so much, it's hard to imagine me going on a land trip these days. So I wanted to go on an Africa cruise. I didn't think you could get kind of both. But on this 73-day world cruise that the passenger took, she actually just coincidentally happens to be my cousin. You know, they would have like 2-day stops, port stops, so they could do
Yeah.
safaris and go to cultural. They can do all of the kind of things you would do on a land trip to Africa because the cruise was so long, and so.
Yeah, well, we took an independent journey actually. We left the ship in Mumbai and did land for like 10 days and joined back in Seychelles. So in that time, we left and we went to Zimbabwe, Zambia, Ethiopia, and
Oh my
Botswana, and then
goodness!
met the Seychelles. So it's always possible.
Oh,
It's
give us
always
the
possible.
highlights of that. Just
Ooh, the
just
highlights.
just hearing about the places is that's highlight. But say some more.
Yeah. I mean, I learned so much about Ethiopia, especially. That was our first stop because we had to take Ethiopian Airways. Ethiopian and Kenyan seem to be like the main African airlines that will take you to the other countries. So since we had to stop in Addis anyway, we decided to take a proper stopover and spend 2 nights there. So and a good friend, parents still live there, and it was so great to hear how Ethiopia really is honestly like the heart of Africa, between the civilization being the cradle of civilization and just literally the geographic location. It's kind of in the middle of Africa. So that was amazing. And then we went on to Botswana and Zimbabwe for game drives. So it was really cool to have like, again, some of the cultural part within Ethiopia and then the game drives in Botswana and Zimbabwe. And Zambia was right there. So we were like, oh, you can just cross the bridge. Why not go to Zambia for
Sure.
lunch? So we literally crossed the bridge from Zimbabwe to Zambia. And I may or may not have bungee jumped off the bridge in between the two by Victoria Falls. And then came back for dinner back to Zimbabwe. So that was really
Now,
cool.
you use the term game drives. Is that a safari?
Oh, sorry. Yes, that's a
Okay,
safari.
okay.
So when you're going to look for the wild
Oh,
game.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Wow, what an experience! You can write a book when this is over.
People keep telling me that.
How can listeners follow you on social media and the internet? That ought to be easy, but go ahead and lead us right to it.
Yeah, no problems. On Instagram and TikTok, I am Brandee Lake. That is BRANDEELAKE. So I am Brandee Lake on both of those. Brannon Files, BRANNON Files is the podcast and filing with my sister. And Brandee Lake on Facebook, but I am not there that much. So probably Instagram or TikTok are going to be your go-to.
All righty. What do you do in your me time when not cruising around the world?
I still travel. Traveling is still one of my favorite things to do, but I love to cook. So that is one thing I miss being on the cruise is the ability to cook. So much so that we took a cooking class. We've taken 2 cooking classes for excursions since we've been on the cruise.
Have you tried any local delicacies?
That may or may not have been yesterday.
Uh-oh, that sounds like it was
Delicacy for them, maybe not delicacy for me.
sounds like quite an experience.
I tried the Mopani worm in Namibia. They also eat it in Zimbabwe. So yes, I tried a worm. Yeah.
Now I'm trying to think what show I've recorded so many shows lately. Somebody in the last few days they ate caterpillar. I mean a big giant caterpillar.
That's the Mopani worm. Same thing.
You
Was it
think?
in Africa?
Yeah, it was somewhere. Yes.
Yeah, it's the same. They call it a worm. It probably was in the caterpillar family. It was quite large and chunky and juicy.
Ugh.
Very good. But yeah.
Wow, can you imagine? Two times in like 3 days, I've interviewed someone who ate, a giant worm. Well, one calls it a giant worm,
Yeah.
and one calls it a giant caterpillar.
And it was and I cooked it. We cooked it in the cooking class. So I prepared it.
Oh, you cooked it?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
already dead. Let's be clear, it was already dead and dried, and then like we rehydrate them and like you saute them, and
wow. No, thank you. What else did you try that was adventurous?
I had alpaca in Peru,
Some
quite tasty.
now
It's
now
like
now
steak.
you know what? Someone. Oh, I know who it was. The same person. So I interviewed. It just came to me who it was. So she is literally. I mean, she is a world traveler, and her first major trip after she kind of took on her brand. Her name, by the way, is 5 Foot Traveler. It's a show that has not come up yet.
Okay.
She's the one where I got the caterpillar from. And she also mentioned something that you
Yeah.
just mentioned, alpaca meat. Yes, she mentioned alpaca meat, and wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting to hear about. Now, I did have two other guests on different occasions. Both
Yeah.
mentioned monkey brains. Uh, nope.
No, hard pass. Hard pass, Paul. The caterpillar was already a hard pass, but I kind of got forced into that one. So yeah, hard pass.
So you like to cook. What else do you do in your me time? Me time in America.
I also love the beach. So I'd say cooking and the beach are probably if I'm not traveling, cooking and the beach are probably two of my favorite pastimes. I do also like live music and concerts.
That's probably next to cruising. Music and stand up comedy are my favorite. So since you brought it up, who's your favorite artist?
Ooh, I don't have one. I literally don't have one. If it has a good beat and I can move to it, I'm there. I'm in it.
What's the last live concert you've seen?
Kurt Franklin. I think it was Kurt Franklin. I think it was the last one I saw before I left. Yep. It was like the reunion tour. It was yeah. It was a tour with some other artists.
Yeah, I saw that same show, Kirk Franklin. It was so good, and he's now. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, so he's now coming
Okay.
back. So I saw that show. That couldn't have been
I know. I know. And I said from that tour, I said the only person missing was Fred Hammond, and Fred is going to be on this next tour. I was like,
Fred's on the next tour. Yeah,
so in fact, I'm sure that was the last one because that was November. I moved out of my apartment in November. It was all like right, like stuff I should not have been doing in preparation for this trip, like just trying to get every last little thing in. And it looks like I'm gonna go back. And when I land back, I'm gonna be going to that to the new tour. So it'll been like the bookends of my trip.
yep. It was about 6 months ago that I saw Kirk Franklin, and yeah, he's coming back. Not only with Fred Hammond, but Yolanda Adams. She wasn't on.
I know. I
She
know.
wasn't on the show the first time. Yep. So
All the old greats, all of my like younger days growing up in gospel music. So I'm super excited.
so you like to travel. What do you have booked? Or do you have, I should ask it differently. Do you have anything booked?
I do not. I'm probably one of the only people on this cruise who have nothing booked. Yeah, nothing yet. But Africa is looking like it again. And we
Again?
and we miss Machu Picchu. So that's gonna have to go up there on the list.
What's on your travel bucket list? What's the one place in the world that you have to get to before it's all said and done?
At this point, Machu Picchu, because
Okay.
it would have been my seventh wonder of the world. And like I think the only one that I hadn't been to, oh no, that and Christ the Redeemer, the only ones I hadn't been to on the cruise, and they went on strike when we were there. So we
Okay.
couldn't go.
Okay. Yeah, when in the introduction to this podcast, I did mention a few of the wonders of the world that were scheduled, and I mentioned Machu Picchu. So the listeners
Oh,
need
yeah.
now know that didn't happen.
And also the pyramids of Giza will not happen.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think of what else. Our itinerary completely changed because of the Suez Canal and the pirates and all of that. So we were never intended to come to Africa. Um, that we didn't find out about coming to Africa until 2 months into the trip, until February, almost 3 months into the trip,
Wow. And I know you were delighted.
which is happy for me. I was like, I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
happy, but yeah, it took some of the it took a few of the world wonders out. I think the Temple of Ephesus or something was in Ephesus as well, I think. Yeah, anyhow.
Brandee, before we let you go, a couple of, well, several, what I call fun or light cruise questions. One is I call it an oddball question, and the only reason I call it an oddball question is
Sure.
it doesn't necessarily relate to cruising at all. So the first question is an easy one, so that I can steal some ideas for my future cruises.
Okay.
What are your favorite? And you travel so much, so I'll say cruise and travel. What are your favorite cruise and travel drinks and cruise and travel food?
Cruise and travel drinks. Drink at this point, I'd probably say an oat milk or coconut milk latte.
Okay.
I tend to hit up the latte tudes quite often, and I like that on land as well. And food, ooh, if you say travel, I'm gonna say afternoon tea for food. I love afternoon tea, so I'm gonna try and find a place to have afternoon tea everywhere I go. The Peninsula Hotel brand it's my goal to go to every peninsula in the world for afternoon tea, and I've completed Asia on this cruise, so I'm super excited.
Do they serve afternoon tea on the Serenade?
They do not regularly, but we did have two during Black History Month, so that
Okay.
was nice.
Okay. All right. What's your most memorable or funniest or even most embarrassing cruise or port experience?
Well, that just happened.
Really?
um, going to get your hair braided in going to get your hair braided in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, and almost missing the ship because you're not done getting your hair done.
Oh, okay.
Um, we finished like with like minutes to go. I did make it back in time, but like the stress of like being worried I wasn't gonna get back was, yeah, I don't know if that was funny, embarrassing, all of the above.
Well, they did a beautiful job.
Well, thank you.
I remember. It's kind of a fog now. Didn't you do a post about getting your hair done?
Oh yeah, there's my hair is a whole thing. I've done several posts about my hair on some level or another. But yes, I think that I am the first person of African American or just black we'll say African diaspora, be it from Africa or black hair to get their hair braided on a royal cruise for sure. They did do my hair in the salon.
So they it looks like they did a nice job in South Africa. I don't. I'm not going to ask you particularly about what you paid or anything, but how did it compare to getting like that same kind of style in the U.S.? Was it reasonable or more or the same or?
Please know, please know that I'll probably get my hair done once a week if the prices were in America what they are in South
Oh,
Africa.
okay, that says a lot. That says a lot.
My braids will be fresh every week.
The oddball question. So I know that some of your huge social media following and friends are listening. Welcome to the many I Am Brandee Lake fans and friends. We certainly hope you have enjoyed listening to the Joy of Cruising podcast, and we'll come back to listen to additional episodes or follow the Joy of Cruising podcast on IG and join our Facebook group. Brandee,
Thank you, TikTok page.
oh yeah, and my fledgling TikTok page, and just when you look at the few little videos I have on there, recognize that This is just the beginning. So Brandee, share one thing that my listeners and your friends and fans don't know about Brandee?
I know I'm a pretty open book. This is hard, Paul. This was super hard because it would have been different if it was just my listeners and fans, but you said my family and friends, and that's where you got me.
Even if there's something your close family knows, but something that you're huge. What is it, like 179,000 on TikTok? I'm catching you. I'm gonna catch you soon. I think 4.
Yeah, you will catch me for sure. Let me see. Random fact. Let me see.
I want listeners to be able to say, I got to know Brandee better by listening to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Oh, I know. I have one. I was a real estate school dropout. I was going to get my real estate license, and I think I was almost to the last week or whatever, and then I just quit and never took the exam. I think I even finished I finished the course, but I never took the exam. Just changed my mind, decided I want to do something else.
Wow. Can you ever go back and just take the exam?
Oh no, that was way too many years ago, and it was in a whole other state, so every state so I'd have to start all over.
Okay.
So that's it. I don't even know if my family knows that. So yes, that is something that I don't know that many people know.
So Brandee, what do you suppose you'll do first when you get home this summer? Well, I guess it won't be summer. Fall.
Yeah, it'll still technically be summer. Fall doesn't start, I think, until the end of September.
Okay.
Go to that concert. No, like literally, I think we get back on the 10th, and I think the concert hits either Michigan or LA on like the 12th. So I'm not even joking. Like that was a literal statement.
So whether it's in the Midwest or the West Coast, you're gonna be there.
I'm gonna be there.
Yep. Mine is
maybe both.
there you go. Yeah, mine is September. I already bought my ticket. So I can't remember when did I see that it was coming to the West Coast. But anyway, well, thank you so much, Brandee, for coming on the Joy of Cruising podcast. And all the best.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul.
Oh, I enjoyed it so much. In fact, I would like to have you come back sometime after you get home, and just...
I'd love to.
Yeah, just listening to your, what's the word, when you... I can't remember the word I was trying to think of. When you come down from something.
Yeah.
Your post-mortem.
Decompression.
That's the word. That's
too, all of that. Decompression, post-mortem, all of it. Listen, we have a joke going on, wondering if there's going to be therapists like at the port as we step off the ship, because none of us are quite sure how we're going to come down from this.
Well, yeah, that's the word I was looking for when you're decompressing. So yeah, let's pencil it in for maybe the beginning of 25 or so.
Sounds good.
It'd be nice to hear your final reflections about the cruise, as well as what life has been like. Returning to America, and then we also can compare notes on the Kirk Franklin concert.
Sounds good. I love it. Love to hear it.
All right, Brandee, as I like to say, we will see you on the ocean.
See you there. Hopefully on the same cruise one day.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, for $18.99, can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.